Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. I'm Eric Kane alongside Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, and Grant Ramey. A lot of questions to get into ahead of Tennessee and Mississippi State coming up this weekend. So we'll jump down into it. We'll start with ThatcherVol88. Not Tennessee related. Well, a little bit Tennessee related, but does Mike Gundy wish he'd come to Tennessee now?
No way. He got the raises he wanted at the time. If he can't cut it in the Big 12, whatever the version of the Big 12 is now these days with Cincinnati and Kansas and West Virginia and all these teams, like, is he going to cut it in the SEC?
Yeah,
if you can't beat Tulsa at home, if you can't keep from getting beat by 66 out of Oregon, I don't think you're going to compete in the SEC.
It ended poorly, but he had a pretty successful run, to say the least, where he was.
For sure.
Well, here's my question on that whole deal. How does he not have, with all the relationship, right? The story for him for years was basically T. Boone Pickens wouldn't let him leave, right? That it was, I mean, he was so in tight with that family, with everything. I mean, how are they not where they need to be NIL wise? Did he just not embrace it and was against it? Or did they just not get, did he not get the funding most people assumed they would get? Because for the longest time, there was all this thought that they had a lot of money floating around out there. But, I mean, it seemed like they didn't adapt very well. And if he couldn't adapt out there to it with the whole money that's floating around and everything else, I'm not sure he would have had a chance in the SEC either.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. I mean, especially a job that he would have – yeah, I know we're talking about Tennessee here, but if he were to move to another program in the SEC, probably – a program that's not as well equipped to handle this environment that we're currently in, this landscape. So
nobody leveraged more than that guy did, though. Yeah. He played the leverage game as well as anybody, AP.
Where does he resurface? Because, I mean, I don't think he's done.
I think he'd be great on TV. Just go be a TV guy.
I don't disagree with that.
I agree.
Get that mullet on Big Noon Saturday.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he'd be fantastic on TV. I don't know if he wants to get back into the mess.
He's got enough money.
Yeah, I don't think he's had a lot of fun the last couple of years.
He's probably glad now that he was just an Oklahoma State lifer, because now he can, once he gets a couple of years past this parting of ways, they'll give him a statue and all this stuff because of what he did for that program, for the amount of time he was there, the winning seasons he had compared to what that program had before he was the head coach.
Nobody. You think about it. Go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say, nobody went into Carnes High School and pulled more talent than that guy. Multiple guys.
You think about, we'll move on here, but like you think about, like, his whole family was Oklahoma fans. Everybody goes to play at Oklahoma in that state. He went to state, and then he played assistant coach, coached 30. He's 58 years old, I think. 35 of his 58 years on this planet have been at that school with that program. It's pretty remarkable.
He's not 58. He's a man. He's 58.
Yeah, he's not 40 anymore. He's a little bit older than 40, but he's certainly a man now. I saw a post, I think it was on the board. It was like, Mike Gundy's no longer 40 and he's no longer employed.
Well, newspapers haven't been the same since he said they're garbage, so maybe it was him.
We'll move on here. We'll go to LightingVol. This year, it seems like our defense is slow to line up. There's often pre-snap confusion. Which defensive player is responsible for getting the play in and communicating it to the rest of the defense? Did Will Brooks play a big role in pre-snap communication for the defense last year? If so, perhaps his departure has amplified this issue.
Well, Will Brooks
back in.
Yeah, Will Brooks communicated with the back end. They miss him back there. I mean, I think he helped Boo Carter and some other guys at the safety spot last year. They communicate with a linebacker, and the linebacker, communicates it to the defense. But the reality is, I think in the Georgia game in particular, Eric, they just didn't get the call in fast enough. There was a lot of times you saw defensive linemen looking to the sideline looking for a call. They obviously have to be much better at that this week.
Yeah, no doubt. The days of, on offense too, obviously, but the days of bringing the defense together, linebacker getting the call, calling the ready break, that's long gone. It's been long gone for a while. They signal everything in from the sideline. All 11 players are looking over there, and then to your point, to the poster's point, a guy like Will Brooks is communicating the back end. Arion Carter's communicating, getting guys lined up and everything, but all 11 guys look to the sideline, get a call. There's 3 different guys over there signaling in plays. 2 are dead, 1's hot, and then you kind of go from there. AJ Lewis 0527, scenario to add to Brent's Florida narrative. I like this one. We go down this year. Go down there this year. Napier's fired. Lagway is far and away in the portal. Florida runs out on offense with HB15, Harrison Bailey. He's the starting quarterback in the Swamp Front interim head coach. Is this the scenario that breaks the spell?
Are they asking me specifically?
Yeah.
It's your narrative, apparently.
Well, I said I would never pick Tennessee to win down there until they won down there, but that may be hard to stick true to that this year with where Florida's at. But there's some battered Vol syndrome fans going, yeah, that would be the most Tennessee thing ever to lose to a backup quarterback. We've seen that multiple times happen with a lot of different places, including the 2001 championship game against LSU. But I digress. Let's not rehash all the pain that has been the last couple of decades plus with guys coming out of nowhere to beat Tennessee, even going back to some Alabama running backs from years past as well. So, I don't like where Florida is. If you're a Florida fan, there's nothing you like about where your program's going right now.
Yeah, you do wonder with Lagway having that injury that popped up after the loss at Miami, them going into a bye week. Is his camp going, let's miss this next game, see where things go, and then potentially just shut it down? Because there's a lot of that goes on behind the scenes all across college football. People are playing, a lot of chess right now. And so,
yeah, but how many I don't want to say stars, but how many high profile guys really at week 5 or week 6 just say I'm done and wear street clothes for the next 2 months? I know there's a lot of talk about that, but I mean, give me 3 or 4 guys who have done that. Not missing a bowl game, not missing postseason play. I mean, middle of the season, just say, hey guys, I'm going to play somewhere else next year. I'm not playing. I'm just going to. I'll stand around, but I'm in street clothes every week.
Well, I think like when people were talking about being with Nico, and I'm like, I don't see that because it doesn't do him any favors because he's already redshirted. But like this kid hasn't redshirted, so like I understand what you're saying. You're wanting me to prove my point, but I mean, like I just think we all know that the conversations that go on around college football with agents and so on and so forth. It's hard for me to believe that that's not at least being bannered about by his team behind the scenes. Now, does the kid do it? I don't know, but I mean, I think him not playing this next game. They got Texas next, then Texas A&M. Is that right? I mean, it's back to back. They play the Texas schools, I'm pretty sure, and then Mississippi State. I think you'd have to pull up the thing to look, but I mean, like I'm pretty sure that's the next 3 for Florida, and I don't know. I just I do wonder. I do ponder it because we do know that these conversations go on behind the scenes. The question is, does the kid listen to the agent if that is happening, or does he say, no, I'm playing. I'm playing for my guys.
How many players from Virginia Tech and who else has been? I mean, how many players from Oklahoma have come out and said, because they've got the 30-day window, but I mean, a lot of people say, well, are they even going to be able to field a team? I mean, ultimately, how many players just shut it down? I think, and I'm not saying you're wrong, AP, because I think those discussions take place. I just, how often does it become reality? I think is the interesting thing.
I don't think like with Virginia Tech or UCLA, they're both coming off bye weeks. Am I wrong in saying that? I'm pretty sure that's right.
UCLA, definitely. I don't know about P2.
I think Virginia Tech is too.
They beat Old Dominion Saturday.
Okay, so they did. Okay. And so like that's where I go back to, like, I don't know if kids are necessarily going to just to announce it. I think it can be a slow process, of seeing where things go and so on and so forth. So I don't know if you necessarily get an announcement out of somebody. I think that would probably be a little more bold than I think most kids are willing to be.
Florida is off this week. They're hosting Texas on the 4th. They're at A&M on the 11th. Then it's hosting Mississippi State, Georgia, and the cocktail party. Back-to-back road tilts, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and then hosting Tennessee before taking on Florida State in the year.
I mean, poor Billy Napier, man. They just let him.
I mean, I want to say this is completely different because it's a November 22nd game, and Tennessee, Florida's never been really in that, aside from 2001, that late in the year.
2020, too.
Right. You just don't know what Florida's going to be at that point. Is Tennessee still in the playoff conversation? What's Tennessee playing for? And then at the same time, we saw Florida dead and buried this time a year ago, and they started playing really well, and they beat Ole Miss in Gainesville the second to last week of the season, if I'm not mistaken, to deny Ole Miss a playoff spot and to help Tennessee out a ton. So I don't know if he can do it again, but it was also, it was a touchdown game in the fourth quarter at Miami, so it's not a terrible football team.
They've been in basically every game.
Right.
Well, they have a great defense. The defense is good. The defense is very good. The offense is trash right now. So the defense will keep them. Huh?
Which is a head scratcher. They got a good tailback. And then obviously Lagway came in with all this, off-season praise rolling off the back end of last year. So that's why I think it's shocking that the offense has been such a train wreck.
Yeah, no doubt. It's been very puzzling. But yeah, to Grant's point, that defense has been really good, and so it's going to keep them into a lot of games. I mean, Miami didn't run away from that game. We mentioned the LSU game. Florida turned it over 5 times on the road. LSU won by 10 points.
And had a defensive touchdown, right? LSU had a defensive touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, we'll move on here. We'll go to Gaterdawg. When will linebackers be a strength? Seems like we've recruited well, but it's not a strength.
I don't know, Brent. I mean, sometimes I think, Arion maybe overrun some plays. I want to continue to see Edwin Spillman come on because I think he can continue to build off what he's done to this point. And then they got a couple of young kids. So I think the loss of Moy and Hobbs in the middle probably hurt that group a little bit. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. I would think it has certainly hurt them. And I mean, I think you like the young talent at the linebacker position compared to what you lined up and played with the last 4 years, And again, I mean, I think the linebacker group was pretty good last year. I mean, they struggle in coverage, but I mean, I think a lot of linebackers struggle in coverage.
Sure.
But I mean, I like the future with Jaden Harmon. I like the future with Perlotti. If both those guys can stay healthy, I think both of them can run. I think Harmon's really instinctive. I think the Ames kid can step in and certainly play a role, and I think Spillman's only going to get better as you go. I mean, the one thing I say about them is they don't feel like they're converted players to linebacker. These young guys, they feel like they're kind of more instinctive, natural linebackers, which you hope will help them moving forward. I mean, I don't think they're a weakness on this team. Are they the most talented part of the defense? I don't know about that either, but I'm not sure I would call them a weakness to them. I want to see if they play Harmon more this week. I think that's an interesting deal because Inge said the right things.
Yeah, there you go. Said it right.
But when you get on the road, how much confidence do you have to put him in that situation, Grant?
See it to believe it. Go back to the Florida narrative.
I think it's that way with a bunch of these guys. Like, I mean, are they going to steal snaps with Isaiah Campbell, or is that going to be no? I mean, we got to we need to keep Eason and Bailey on the field, and those guys are going to end up playing 55, 60 snaps in a game. I don't know. It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to do it. Now, they have done it on defense more than they have on offense, but how much will they do it in a game like this on the road?
They need to blitz better. Against Syracuse, they had a couple of delayed blitzes on third down, looked good. And since then, I mean, it's like against Georgia specifically, I mean, they blitzed them a couple different times, and it's just like, I mean, just getting no push. Nothing's added in that regard. So I agree. I don't think they've been a weakness, but they have certainly not been a strength through 4 games. And I like the makeup of that room for sure. 4 different head coaches, 4 more DCs, and yet middle of the field has been a problem in the passing game since the Dooley days. What gives? Speaking of linebackers, but that's also defensive backs and safeties too.
I mean, I think it's hard. I mean, I think that's why. I mean, I think everybody wants to throw it in the middle of the field. I think Tennessee's zone this year. I mean, I'm not going to go back through 4 defensive coordinators. I mean, Sal Sinceri, I guess, is one of those coordinators. That shouldn't even count, right? I mean, that doesn't even work. I think Justin Wilcox's group was pretty good, what they're doing. But let's talk about here in the now. And, I think Tennessee, Grant's got to be better in zone. I think the windows have been too big for the quarterback to throw it vertically down the field. I mean, this defense has given up too many 20-yard passing plays through 4 games this season, particularly in 3rd and long and 4th and long situations. Their zone windows have to be tighter than what they've been.
Yeah, got to be better. I would agree that it's just that's the most difficult part of the field to defend in the pass game, because you're getting guys mismatched and you're getting guys, you have to be better in certain areas. But I mean, they got to be better on third down. They got to be better on fourth down. I never thought this was going to be the 2025 defense, but I think people are holding them to that standard, which is really not fair. And it's not really what they need to be. Sorry, the 2024 defense for the 2025 defense. Austin's giving me looks. But I don't think I'm not selling on them hard right now at this point in the season. I think they can grow and be fine, get healthier.
You're buying stock.
I'm buying stock.
Buy when it's lowest.
That's me.
Yeah, we're talking about defensive coordinators here. Don't forget too. Tennessee's had a lot of pretty good defensive line coaches, expensive defensive line coaches. Tracy Rocker, Jeremy Pruitt, most expensive defensive line coach in all of Tennessee football history. That year he coached defensive line for the last 7 games. So,
hey, Kane? Are you buying stock in the Webb defense?
No.
Okay. Sure.
No, I'm not. And love my boy Nick Craney. Not buying stock in the Rams defense right now either.
Who are those people? Who do they coach for? For those who don't follow high school football,
Webb and Grace, the high school team in town. We do.
Coming off a 70-40 rivalry Thursday game last week.
I know, we had inside jokes. No one knows what we're talking about.
What is up, everybody? Home Field Apparel is the exclusive apparel sponsor of Volquest.com. Football season is here. It's still a little hot here in East Tennessee, which isn't great, but at nighttime, it gets a little cooler. It feels like fall. It's getting there, and you can kind of smell football in the air. And if you're heading out to Neyland Stadium the rest of this football season, be sure to be decked out in style thanks to our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Can't miss Kickoff 2025 campaign. You can get the football boxes. If you look over my right shoulder, you see it right there. Can't miss kickoff box. It's sitting right over there under my Braves bobbleheads. Inside that box, there's an awesome black long sleeve vintage back-to-back SEC championship game t-shirt. That's awesome. I've got a big-time hoodie with a big old Tennessee football helmet on the back, interlocking UT on the front. There is an orange shirt that is 1998 national championship shirt. I mean, it's really, really cool stuff. It's curated, the stuff in that box so that you can wear it all season long, and it's fitting for all weather conditions. But why I love it is vintage college design, vintage Tennessee design, and that's kind of what Home Field Apparel kind of hangs its hat on. Officially licensed apparel with vintage college design. So go and check out, get your can't miss 2025 campaign, that coach's box. Check out the jackets, check out the bomber jackets, check out the t-shirts and long sleeve tees, and so much more. Go to homefieldapparel.com today to go ahead and get started. All right, we'll go to SPittVol. Coach Heupel's teams have slipped up in road games that should have won on multiple occasions since he's been here at Tennessee. How does Tennessee avoid that in Starkville on Saturday? Grant Ramey, I'm going to ask you about this in Game Quest later in the week, so go ahead and get some...
What a plug. What a plug. Eric's learning how to do this. Y'all hear that?
Get some reps in here.
As cliche as it sounds, and I've said it a million times, start fast. This team has started fast. They've scored it consistently, whether it's Syracuse or ETSU or Georgia or UAB. It's 17s and 21s, and it's 42 at halftime, and it's all this stuff. Like, just get off to a fast start, execute when you have a script to start the game. Obviously, when you went to Arkansas last year, you were shut out at halftime. That was a problem for that offense consistently. That hasn't been a problem so far, so you got to keep that going. You got to make sure that travels.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, defensively, you got to do something early in this game because Mississippi State has scored 55 points in the first quarter themselves. They've scored a touchdown on every one of their opening possessions in 4 games. So the script for both these head coaches who script things, because that's their nature of this offense, it's worked really well. So who can knock somebody off script? Who can be the first team to kind of, hold serve, so to speak? Because, if you look at it, it feels like it's going to be a shootout early because of what both these two teams have done in the first quarter. So who holds serve on defense? I think it's going to be interesting. Both defenses have only given up, I think, a touchdown or something like that. Maybe it's 6 points by State and 7 by Tennessee. So which defense can stop an offense early in this game?
Robert Ayers on the side of caution. Will we see more consistency from Boo Carter on defense following his performance against UAB?
Nope. Read the last part.
Bombless Vols.
There we go.
You would think that he would continue to improve. I think for Boo, it's just about getting out of his own head. I think he struggles with the fact he started a year ago. He's not starting right now. And I think maybe he gets down on him, either down on himself or down on the situation. And then that just kind of snowballs when he goes on the field, And so I think for me, I think Boo's just got to play confident. Boo's as confident a kid as you know that's on the team. And so just play confident. Just do what you know how to do. Do what you did a year ago. I mean, we brought it up earlier. I'm sure Will Brooks helped line him up a year ago, but I don't think Will Brooks is, the reason Boo performed well when he got opportunities. I think Boo just, again, is struggling with the fact that he's in a reserve role. And I think you've got to find a way to take your reserve role and do it the best you can.
And that's not a spot on the field where you want to be in your own head. That's going to make things a lot tougher at that position. But if he's earned opportunities, keep giving those opportunities and see what kind of progress he makes.
We all talked about it and wrote about it. He had certainly had some slip-ups on Saturday for sure, but I love the way he finished that football game. And he's got the ability, talking about that confidence you were just touching on right there. Hopefully that kind of springs him into the player that he was at points in times a season ago, because he finished the football game the way you want to finish the football game. And we talked about on the mini pod, like Tennessee kept him in there. I mean, it was freshman, third, fourth stringers, and Boo Carter. He played 42 snaps. I thought that was a good call by the staff as well. Move on now to 10-10-1961. You're the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference. What steps are you taking to ensure the SEC stays a top conference? Schools added, etc. He said, to me, with the digital networks, expanding the league footprint doesn't matter that much anymore.
I think you better stay 2 steps ahead in terms of what's going to happen with other leagues. And I don't think expansion matters as much in terms of the footprint, but it's almost like an athletic director's always got a list of coaches he would want to go after if he had a vacancy. Like, you better stay ahead of the game and know what the next moves are with the ACC or all these other leagues. Like, if something happened there, which schools would the SEC be interested in? You better have conversations about which schools would be interested in the SEC. Like, you better stay steps ahead of that situation, because you don't want it to happen where maybe the Big Ten expands again or something like that, and you're not ready to match that or stay kind of on par with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the TV deals are going to be fascinating for both the Big Ten and the SEC when you talk about the digital and all this other stuff that's going on kind of in the world of college sports or sports in general from a watching standpoint. People are going to bundle, or is it going to be a la carte streaming services? What all is that going to be? I mean, I think you're trying to figure out what that next step looks like. I think the SEC has been smart from an expansion standpoint. I think Missouri's still out of place. I mean, no offense to the Tigers, that one still feels awkward. But I mean, I think getting into North Carolina, getting into Virginia, if you expand there, would make sense. But I think the one area where the SEC has been smart is they've not gone simply for a TV market outside of Missouri. Now, I think going to get in Missouri was about St. Louis and trying to do that. But they didn't go to California and do what the Big Ten does. I mean, we're still in the infant stages of what this thing in the Big Ten really looks like, with all these teams traveling all over the country. And I mean, I don't think anybody in Stanford's loving life in the ACC, and I don't think Wake Forest is loving life with Cal in the ACC. So if you're going to expand, I do think you have to stay within the footprint. I mean, look at the number of games that Tennessee is going to play in the new 9-game model that are drivable for fans. That's still reachable, that you don't sit here and look at and say, okay, if it's a championship season and we go to all the road games, we're going to have to fly 7 times counting the playoffs or whatever. That's not the case in the SEC. And we talk to a lot of people that cover other teams in other leagues like Nebraska and those guys. They have one drive as a media person to cover it. They have to fly everywhere. Well, so do the fans. The SEC has kept it convenient for fans to travel. And I think that's something that they have to be mindful of when they look at what the next steps is. Don't expand just to expand. Expand with the right purpose to where you can still get to some places.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. I mean, obviously, like for Texas and even Mississippi State, like adding Virginia and North Carolina is probably a flight. But for a lot of other schools, Vandy, Georgia, South Carolina, Kentucky, like adding those, Tennessee, obviously, even Florida, adding those schools can be a drive if they want it to be. It's not too bad. And so I'm with you. I think adding schools in Virginia and North Carolina is the next frontier for the SEC if they can.
Unless we're going to a super conference and then it all changes at that point.
Yeah, sure.
Because who knows what that looks like. And I think if you're the commissioner of the league, that's what you're trying to figure out. Is there another step of expansion coming, or is a super conference coming sooner rather than later?
2 super conferences, 4 divisions, geographic divisions.
They're called pods, Grant. Come on.
Where have we heard this before?
And they play for the Saban Trophy instead of the Lombardi Trophy.
Whoa.
Is that what we're doing, Grant? Is that what you said?
I did not say that at all. Brent Hubbs said that, everybody.
I'm just kidding.
A second part of the question here. Also, is the pact between schools not to add teams in their state still a thing? Example of which, Florida wouldn't vote to add Clemson, and South Carolina wouldn't vote to add Miami.
I think that was the old days. I think that went out the window when Texas was just like bulldozed their way in, and Texas A&M wasn't given much of an option. So I mean, I think it's hard to stand on those grounds when you're adding the Longhorns to go along with the Aggies.
I mean, if the state of Mississippi can handle it, and the state of Alabama can handle it, and the state, I mean, there's multiple states with 2 teams already that has been in the SEC for years. South Carolina and Florida should be no exception to that rule.
Especially when South Carolina didn't come to the league till 1992.
Right.
My favorite handle, maybe yours as well, because again, I don't know. Brent was right. I don't know if it's HeupelmyLord, like praise, or HeupelmyLord, like, oh my gosh, what's going on? HeupelmyLord.
Depends on the play call.
Depends on the play call. It depends on
It's called versatility. It's called versatility.
Who do you think has the higher ceiling between Staley and Matthews? Interesting question, because again, obviously I think the higher ceiling is Mike Matthews, but I mean, Braylon Staley, good player, number one, and then obviously in this offense, in the slot, very much great potential to boom. I think the answer is Matthews, but I think both those guys have high ceilings.
I think Staley's. Go ahead, AP. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I thought about this last night. I was reading them, and I was like, the natural answer is what Eric said, but I want to lean the other way. Like, I just think Braylon Staley. I think Braylon Staley's a little more polished of a receiver, and Mike Matthews is an incredible athlete who's learning receiver, and really, I think picking it up really quick. But I think there's another level to Braylon Staley that we've not seen, and I don't know if it's the number. But like Amon-Ra St. Brown, I don't know. There's just something about him that I just feel like is going to continue to evolve. So I don't think you can answer the question incorrectly. I think you could say either one, because I think both of them are still tipping, finding their footing as receivers. But for me, I lean Staley for whatever reason.
Well, I think Staley's more polished. I think he's a more natural receiver. Mike Matthews could play safety as much as he could play receiver in this defense right now. I don't think Braylon Staley is going to go play safety. I think he's more natural as a wide receiver. The thing about both these guys is they're interchangeable, which we haven't seen at Tennessee, Grant. I mean, typically the slot receiver has been the slot receiver, but now you can move Mike inside and play. He can play slot, and Staley can go play outside. That's what makes those two unique compared to what we've seen, because, we had the year Javonte Payton, hey, you get one route. You're running one route. And when it's done in the first quarter, then everybody's guarding it from there on out. You've had Squirrel White was never going to be an outside guy. He was an inside guy only. Velus Jones was an inside guy. These guys are more interchangeable than what we've seen, which I think makes the comparison pretty fascinating, because you don't necessarily have to pigeonhole this guy's into to the spot that gets the ball thrown to him the most, and this guy's the big play receiver, and vice versa.
The fact that this is a question a month in, and it's a really tough question to answer, and you could argue either side, is such a huge compliment to those two guys and to Tennessee's wide receivers as a whole, because you think about Staley and Matthews and the plays they've already made, and you're not even discussing Chris Brazzell and the 6 touchdowns or however many he's got in the last 9 quarters, the absurd production that they've had from those 3 guys across the board. Like, you entered the season knowing you were thin there, and you hope everybody stays healthy, but you hope they produce and produce consistently, and all those guys have made plays. And the fact that that's a question a month in is a huge, huge piece for this Tennessee offense. Also, didn't Tennessee have a 14 at receiver in the late 90s, early 2000s?
Yes, pretty good player.
We've talked about old Cedric Wilson several times. He hit me and Staley, and kind of like the lineage there of that number and position. I do think it's interesting going into this weekend. His dad played DB at Mississippi State, so I probably wondered if he's going to bring an orange and white cowbell.
I mean, I'm telling you, pound for pound, Cedric Wilson's one of the toughest guys who have played at Tennessee in the last 35 years. I mean, that guy was he did not care to fight anybody at any point. He would block he would crack down on any defensive end he could crack down on. He was a tough dude now.
Neylandgreene. When, if ever, have we felt better about the 5-year future of UT athletics? Basketball, men's and women's, baseball, football, all seem to be on very solid ground. I looked at this last night and I was like, I mean, early 2000s maybe, but right now maybe is the only time. But also, where is the university administration in 5 years? Where's Randy Boyd? Dondé Plowman? How does that affect Danny White? That would be the only hiccup there. But the base of the question, I mean, hard not to feel good about where you are if you're a Tennessee fan, Grant.
Just knock on wood. I don't feel like going back and covering disasters. Just knock on wood. Don't jinx it, Neylandgreene.
Here's the other thing I would say too: while the window seems wide open, it can slam shut really, really quickly.
Yep.
And in August, if you said, "Hey, where is Clemson football? What's their ground for the next 5 years?" I mean, Dabo's not going anywhere. He's winning. This is a playoff caliber team. Where are they at right now? And I'm not saying any of that's going to happen at Tennessee. I'm just saying in the world of college athletics, it's hard to see anything past a year or two, much less 5 years down the road, because, man, that world can come crashing down. One mistake here, one bad break there, and all of a sudden you're not nearly where you thought you were going to be.
But then on the flip side, it's easier to rebuild. You can rebuild quicker. So, yeah. Dale 1972. Should just be Dale, yeah. Dale, yeah, 1972. Do you guys think the Washington home and home in 2029 and 2030 will eventually be canceled?
I don't, because everybody needs that 10th game against the Power 4 opponent.
I can guarantee you Danny White has no desire to cancel that series, because it's hard enough to schedule those things. He's got one on the books. He has no desire to get out of that deal.
Didn't he just say on pregame radio Saturday that he wants more home and homes and less neutral sites? Am I making that up, or did he not say that? If that's the case, you would have no reason to cancel that because they're hard to schedule. You've already got a really good one on the books.
Yeah,
Danny, I am available to help schedule the next home and homes. I've got really good ideas on where Tennessee can go and where we'd love to go cover a game. So call me.
We just got to get you to Boston. If we can get you to Chestnut Hill to cover Boston College, then you'll be much happier.
Austin will be scheduling Chaminade, the Silver Swords. It won't be a home and home. It'll be an away and away.
Matt Ryan has offered big money for me to come up there and start Eagle Quest.
I think that Danny White has made it clear. He has not gone out and sought neutral site games other than when he had to find one. Now, they got out of the BYU game. Okay, let's be real honest with that one. He did get out of that game for a neutral site deal with Virginia. But the other ones were kind of forced upon him, or they were signed when he was in place. I don't think he's any kind of fan of Charlotte and West Virginia in 28. Now, he's not going to get out of that one because they've got the schedule set up, so there's no reason to get out of that game because you got the 5 and the 4 the way that you want it. So you just go get that one. But I would not look for Danny White to be scheduling a bunch of neutral site games with Tennessee teams anytime soon.
Hey, quick announcement real quick about Dollar Shave Clubs. When you rep your team, don't stop at just the jersey. Dollar Shave Club's collegiate razor handles combined grooming with glory, letting students, grads, and fans show their school spirit and style. From the sink to the stadium, shave with school pride. Visit dollarshave.com to grab your college handle today and go Vols. That is dollarshave.com to grab your college handle today and go Vols. Any rumors of potential opponents for those other two non-conference games when he goes to finalizing these future rosters?
Whoever he can get for the smallest paycheck, he's got to write them to come play. Right, Grant?
Directional State, Tech, A&M.
Yeah, it's not going to be anybody of note, that's for sure.
It's going to be that team that the water boy played for.
Sam Smith, 2233. Thoughts on the 2026 future opponents? Earlier this week, of course, that was announced, and man, that obviously life in the SEC is never easy. It's going to get harder with that extra conference game, but that 2026 home slate, man, it's going to be tough. But that's some star power coming to Neyland Stadium. Should be some great football games with Alabama, Texas, LSU, Auburn. And the big mighty Kentucky Wildcats.
It's ridiculous. The home slate is ridiculous, and enjoy it if you're fans. But I mean, that's also a murderer's row, gauntlet at home. You do get, if you can find a way to win your home games, you do only have the one game at A&M that's just a tough road atmosphere. Everything else is just kind of okay. I mean, South Carolina's a good atmosphere, but where will they be at a year from now? I don't see Lenore Sellers there, so they're retooling at quarterback, and so I guess for me, like, all things considered, it's much better than playing those teams that you're playing home on the road.
It's very bizarre not to have a Florida and Georgia on there. It's going to be very weird, just because those are kind of benchmark games where you're measuring yourself against. Like, obviously Alabama's still there, but Kentucky and Vanderbilt are your two of your three annuals, and those aren't benchmark games for Tennessee football. It's just going to be weird. Like, Texas home and home is going to be very strange because they've played, 3 times? It was in the Cotton Bowl.
All in the Cotton Bowl. 60 plus years ago. So that's going to be like, it's going to be a fun change of pace. It's just going to be very different and very it's going to take a minute to get used to, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited, Hubbard, to know that when we go to Florida, November 22nd, we don't have to go back until 2029. Pretty excited about that.
But you get to go to Missouri in 27, AP.
That's okay. As much as I don't like the Missouri trip, and it's the bane of my existence, even worse is the trip to Gainesville.
Pretty sure in 29 is a double Mississippi trip, which is it's going to feel like a basketball move. One time they were in like Oxford on a Tuesday and Starkville on a Saturday.
Well, maybe they'll just do that and
stay in Memphis.
Down there. We'll just stay down there.
Stay in Tupelo for the week. I think for all the talk about how great that home schedule is going to be, I mean, obviously it's really challenging, but for fans, it's going to be, big time. Those away schedules. I mean, in 27, you're at Alabama, at Georgia, at Missouri, at Oklahoma. Like, hello, and then in 28, you go to Texas, to LSU, to Auburn. I mean, the away stuff is, and it's not just Tennessee. It's, I mean, everybody is like that. But the extra away game in this deal is something that is going to change the landscape of this league a lot.
You think Peyton's in a pickle if Arch Manning comes to Neyland Stadium in 2026? I guess next season.
I don't think Peyton's really ever in a pickle in his life, is he? I mean, he's Peyton Manning. I mean, what really has? I mean, is there anything that's a negative real impact on Peyton Manning and his?
It's also not his kid. Like, if it was Marshall, then I think he'd be in a dilemma. But Arch, you root for the best. But I mean, he's a Tennessee guy.
I mean, the last pickle the Manning family was in was probably when Peyton played Ole Miss in Memphis, and they had no desire to be in that deal because there was so much hate from the Ole Miss fans that Peyton didn't go to Oxford and play when Billy Brewer was putting the Rebels on probation and they were going nowhere. But since then, I don't know that there's been a lot of pickles in the Manning family, other than stuffing some money in pickle jars somewhere. But other than that, it's been pretty good.
Other than Arch throwing sidearm for no reason and being some 3 feet.
Okay, that affects part of the Manning family. That certainly affects part of the Manning family for sure.
Other than taunting an 0-4 opponent when you run him over in the end zone.
Sam Houston, baby. You don't just roll out of bed and beat Sam Houston.
Second part of the question here: who on Mississippi State offense scares you?
The kid that runs 23 miles an hour.
Fluff Bothwell? No, he's not. If he's 230, he's not running 23 miles an hour, right?
Not the receiver that caught the deep bomb at Arizona State.
I mean, having a veteran quarterback that you didn't have a year ago for most of the season.
I think it starts there.
I mean, yeah, that's usually where you start on offense, and if you have answers there, it seems like they have better answers there than they did a year ago.
I think Chapin. I think Bothwell's a really good tailback. I mean, they got some talent at wide receiver, but again, I think it all starts with the quarterback.
I think we should start calling Hubs Fluff. He looks like a fluff.
Yeah, I'll choke down some heaters like Fluff does on the golf course.
Fluff hubs.
I actually like that. Let's do that. That's
Fluff.
Fluff. In fact, when you ask him a question on the GQ, you have to call him.
I'm a big fluff guy, right? I'm Captain Positive. Lots of fluff floating out of my mouth.
Halls _Vol 42. What does this matchup at the trenches look like? Tennessee's O-line versus Mississippi State's defensive line. Tennessee's defensive line versus Mississippi State's offensive line. It seems like it would favor Tennessee heavily, but I don't know much about Mississippi State.
They've got some injuries on both sides of the line of scrimmage for Mississippi State, and obviously Tennessee's going to get Jackson Moy back this week. I think that the offensive and defensive line, the line of scrimmage for both, set up to favor Tennessee.
I would agree with that. I mean, you got to go play well. I mean, State's bigger on the offensive line; they're heavier, but I mean, I think overall you feel like you like Tennessee's line of scrimmage where they are. A little bit better than where State is in the line.
I mean, Joey wasn't running for his life against Georgia. That's a pretty good sign.
Right.
Tennessee got some stops in the second half against Georgia. That's a pretty good sign. So it feels like they've passed the test so far. You would expect to do the same Saturday.
DolittleVol 5. How long until Kirby Smart claims there's a conspiracy theory against Georgia because they only play three conference home games every other year, and half the league will get 5? Yes, I know it's because they play a neutral site game, but coaches have to meet their complaining quota every single year. If there's a way to tell his team, to show his team that they're disrespected and that everybody thinks they suck, Kirby Smart's going to figure that out. He is the master of getting that from Nick Saban back in the day and trying to make his team believe that they're not any good and then go out there and say nobody believed in us. I think that he could certainly use that.
Yeah, there's a really simple answer. Just start playing in Gainesville and Athens.
Yeah.
Just do what everybody else does.
Do those fans like that? I mean, I would hate that if I was a fan of one of those schools, right?
Yeah, would not be my favorite.
I mean, anytime you got to go to Jacksonville, that's not fun.
I've had enough neutral sites, and we only get one probably every 3 to 4 years at Tennessee, so I wouldn't want to do that every single year.
I mean, think how much better that ripley would be if they were playing at their own stadiums. Yeah.
I mean, if Florida Georgia line broke up, so there's no point to play the thing with college campuses.
Jack RG22, do you think Joey's demeanor could help some of those issues on the road? I think it could, Austin, but obviously this is a new environment for him too. He's not played in many environments like this.
No, obviously Appalachian State plays great football, but the environments they play in outside of a few non-conference games aren't like this or any other thing in this league. I think his even keel, we have him coming up on Beyond the Orange this Sunday night, and he talks about like how like playing golf helped him learn to like play football, just like whatever you do, whether you hit it on the green, whether you hit it into the water, next shot, next throw, next series. Like he doesn't get out ahead of himself, and he is 24. We've talked about that. He's mature. He's laid back. Nothing seems to rattle him too much one way or the other, and I think that will help him on the road no matter where they go.
There was a camera shot during the first quarter of the Georgia game, ABC camera, where Tennessee had just scored that third touchdown, so they went 3 for 3 on their first 3 drives and had 21 points on the board. And Joey just comes over to the sideline and sits down and sits back on the bench. Like you would have thought they just went 3 and out or something. Like nothing had like they started, going over the iPads and talking to coaches. He was sitting with the other quarterbacks, but you would have had no idea that they had just went on their third straight touchdown drive to start a rivalry game in front of a sold out stadium and all that stuff. He just sat back and Heupel was talking about that after UAB when somebody asked him what's his favorite thing about Joey Aguilar, that even keel. I think we've seen it. I don't think that's just talk.
Yeah, I agree with you guys on. I mean, being down there on the sideline, like he's just. Like it's like he has no recollection. There's 100,000 people in there. It's like he's playing in the backyard. It's kind of his mindset. Now, I mean, it's just like, okay, yeah. All right, when do we get to go back out there again? And kind of how he goes. Brent, I have a follow-up to DolittleVol 5's question. I know this is going off script here, but why is the Georgia-Florida game now being played 1 year in Atlanta and 1 year in Tampa? Is that right?
I know the answer to the question.
Is that because Jacksonville's renovating their stadium, AP?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, then if you're going to play in Atlanta, just go the hour up the road to Athens.
I know.
Go the hour up the road.
I don't think they wanted to do it because I think they were afraid if they did it and people would go, I really like this. Let's never go back to Jacksonville. And then you have some people that are just like, I want to play that game in Jackson.
So where are the Jags playing?
London.
I don't know.
I don't have any idea. I just saw that because I was looking up. There was a lot of talk about Georgia's 26 schedule, and DolittleVol's question got me thinking. I mean, they have Auburn, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma at home, and they travel to South Carolina, Alabama, Arkansas, and Ole Miss. That's not for a lot of people. They think Georgia got a nice slow roll into the 9-game conference schedule when you look at those games that they're playing in 26.
They're gonna play at Everbank, but it's gonna be reduced capacity. So they're gonna dial it back to 2020, 2021.
I mean, Jaguars football is always reduced capacity.
Yes.
Well played.
The Jaguars.
Yes. I have nothing to say because
no offense, Duval.
The Titans are pathetic, but yes, Vols forever 901. How much of an advantage or disadvantage is it for Coach Josh Heupel coaching against his former OC and Jeff Lebby on Saturday? Something we've talked about this week, Brent. Obviously, they're going to be very similar offensively. Tennessee's different. They evolve. But it's interesting how the defenses could benefit in this regard because the defenses kind of see this in practice every day and in fall camp specifically.
I don't think it's so much Lebby versus Heupel. I mean, they both know what they're going to do, but they're both offensive guys. So I think the question is which defense has a better feel for what the offense wants to do to them every day in practice that carries over into the game. So I think is Tim Banks better at defending Heupel's offense, which gives him advantage against Jeff Lebby, or is Mississippi State's defensive coordinator better at defending Lebby? That gives him some kind of advantage against Tennessee. I don't think it's a whole lot of Jeff Lebby versus Josh Heupel. I'll say this, both of them scripts are working brilliantly to start games. They are. And then it becomes a game of adjustments after that. But to start games, both of them have been outstanding because their scripts have been – I mean, they have carved up their opponents with their scripts to start games.
Let's test Hubs' pop culture knowledge. It's kind of a Spider-Man meme.
A what?
Spider-Man meme? No?
That one of those?
It's a meme where Spider-Man's looking at Spider-Man. They're both looking at the same thing. So I think any advantage for either side kind of cancels itself out because they both know each other.
That's a great way to end the show.
We're gonna keep going for a little bit. We gotta send that. We gotta send that to Hubs as well. So you know what we're talking about. DolittleVol. Is the road game narrative a fair criticism? Even though the road conference record is very mediocre, I do believe there have only been 2 losses where they were the favorite: 2022 South Carolina, 2024 Arkansas. A lot of those road losses, 8-10 is the record in true road games. A lot of those road losses, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, recognize that. I do think the criticism is fair because, again, losing a game in Arkansas is, what are you doing? You were a 17-point favorite at South Carolina that year. You dropped that one. Missouri, I don't remember. Grant, you might. I mean, Tennessee favored 2023 at Missouri. Missouri won 35-7. I mean, what are you doing in that regard? Like, Tennessee's got to be better on the road. So I think the criticism's fair, but I do recognize it's hard to win on the road, and I recognize that a lot of those losses are against the big 3.
I mean, the criticism is going to be there because you lost at Florida in 23, and people don't forget they want to win those games in Gainesville. Criticism is going to be what was on the line in 22 at South Carolina, and you couldn't get a stop. The criticism is going to be 24 Arkansas. You were shut out at halftime. You played pretty well coming out of halftime, and it looked like you were going to kind of regain control and take care of business. And Arkansas is down to a backup quarterback there late and scores and goes ahead, and your quarterback runs out of all that stuff. Like, the criticism is fair because of the way the losses happen. You're not expected to go undefeated on the road. You're expected to, it's hard to win on the road in this league, but I think it's the way some of the losses have happened that leads to the criticism.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Tennessee is on par. Adam Sparks had this in the News Sentinel on Wednesday, I guess it was. Tennessee's on par in terms of unranked losses with everybody else in the league over the last 4 years, which is Heupel's tenure. Tennessee's actually above average compared to other teams. Most other teams, they're above the norm or above the average line against ranked opponents on the road. Now, Kirby Smart's obviously the best, but I mean, I don't think Ole Miss has a win over a ranked opponent on the road in the Lane Kiffin era. Now, to your point, they've laid a couple of bad ones. The stinker at Arkansas, the stinker at South Carolina, and that becomes the narrative. And I understand that. But when you look at the whole body of work, as Adam had in his story, Tennessee's not been as bad on the road compared to other teams in the conference as you would think that they would be. But that being said, you better go find a way to win this one on Saturday.
ATLVFL, where do you think the long-term quarterback strategy will be after Faizon? Do you see us going the experience portal route and sticking with the top high school quarterback every other year?
I don't know. That's a great question, but I just don't think anybody knows the answer to what they want to do. I mean, ultimately, like who wins the battle between George and Faizon? What happens out of that, right? Like, naturally most quarterbacks don't stick around. So then, you don't really have a whole lot. Let's say Merklinger leaves in January. It's a two-man race. Can you really go into next year with just two guys? I don't think so. So then you got to find somebody to bring in here. Who knows? They're probably not going to win the job. And, I don't know. It because of the way Nico left, I think it kind of threw the quarterback room into a little bit of a tailspin because Merklinger was never going to be the guy this year if Nico was here. He's not the guy with Nico not here, but I don't think he would have known that officially and may have been willing to compete in spring. But again, I think only having one portal window also makes kids go, do I have a real shot or not? If I don't, they're bouncing. So I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on kind of how it all plays out is to answer the question.
All right, we got about 6-7 questions left. Let's kind of go rapid fire. Let's hit a lot of these. Balls Forever 901. Does the news of Matier's hand injury change your thoughts on how the Oklahoma game will go? I've gone from thinking it will be a dogfight to believing we now have a decided advantage. I think it depends on when he comes back. Some reports say as early as 3 weeks. Some say longer than that. I think it's going to be more towards, game week, game time decision potentially. And I think that it absolutely, you got to feel much better about that game right now than you did this time yesterday.
I think it depends on what Oklahoma does between now and November 1st. And if they just keep the train on the tracks, it's obviously going to be a tough game. If they lose a couple and don't have as much to play for, then maybe that's different. But it's going to be a tough game either way.
And how much does the injury, even when he comes back, affect their play calling? Do they run him as much as they were running him to start the year?
Sheriff 16 for Prez with Bruce Pearl retiring. I was wondering what Tobias Harris's relationship is with the program. What's that like? Does he spend time in and around the program at all?
I haven't seen him around Pratt Pavilion. Haven't seen photos or videos from Tennessee with him in the building, but he's kind of been busy having a NBA career for the past 15 years, so makes sense.
Vulcan, Brent, I know there are a lot of factors to why this team is so much better in the red zone, but if you had to pinpoint the biggest one or two reasons, what do you think they are?
Offensive line protection and quarterback processing, making quick decisions in the red zone. I mean, you look at Joey's numbers, he's got 11 completions in the red zone. I think 5 of them, maybe 7 of them are touchdown passes. I mean, he's just been good. He's delivered the ball on time, and he's been very decisive in the red zone, which you have to be.
Tastes like 865. The seats appear hot for Billy Napier and Sam Pittman. If you were an up-and-coming coach like Alex Golesh, which place would be the better job, Arkansas or Florida? I imagine at first glance it's Florida, but there is a lot more pressure there.
First glance, second glance, third glance, fourth glance.
That was great.
I mean,
resources
recruiting.
Recruiting.
Unless Tyson Chicken is just throwing ungodly money at Arkansas, like you go to the place where all the talent is in the state of Florida.
And
there's pressure at both jobs. There's no non-pressure in the SEC.
Or the Walmarts.
There you go.
Well, here's the thing. You had an AD come out at a quarterback club in Little Rock and say, we are not competitive enough in football financially to play for a championship. Is that the job I want to take? Somebody better show me some real dollars before I'm crawling into that job and say, hey, you want me to beat these teams in the SEC, but you're publicly declaring we don't have the resources to do that. What a dumb quote by their AD at a quarterback club meeting in Little Rock. Just dumb. Makes no sense.
If Hobbs, Dye, Robinson, Utley, Wallace, and Campbell show they are capable to contribute, do you think it's still a high likelihood to pursue a defensive tackle in the portal?
Yes.
Percentages. We haven't hit a percentage.
1,000,000%.
1,000,000%.
1 million.
1,000,000%.
Now, This will be the last one. Now that the schedules are out, what home game do you think Heupel has aggressively circled as the hardest in 2025? Oklahoma or Texas in 2026?
Oklahoma.
I mean, it's always going to be Oklahoma because it's Oklahoma. And, the receipts are still in the pocket and they're never going to get thrown away. So,
no, they're not.
It's to me, it's going to. Now, I can promise you this: he hasn't thought one thing about Texas in 26, but it's always going to be Oklahoma because it's Oklahoma. That's where he played, and it did not. That divorce was not a very pretty one. And so,
even when the ink on the receipts is faded away, Hubs, they'll still be paper.
They're never leaving his wallet, man. They're always going to be in there. I mean, that's. So I would think it's always going to be Oklahoma.
It's always going to be Oklahoma, but at the same time, it could also be Texas when the time comes because he still has some Oklahoma in him.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it didn't end well and he wants to beat Oklahoma and all that stuff.
A lot of good questions here this week on the Mailbag Podcast. Appreciate you guys sending them in. I know there's a lot we didn't get to, but we're through about 30 here this morning. So appreciate that as always. We do it every Thursday right here on the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. Big week coming up. Tennessee at Mississippi State, 4:15 Eastern, 3:15 local. Volquest.com and on the General's Quarters, we get you set leading up to kickoff, during the game, and all the reaction post-game. All that and more at Volquest.com. No better place to join us than right now. $1 for your first 7 days at Volquest.com. It's football season, recruiting. Basketball has officially started preseason practice. Fall baseball starts today. The practice window. All that and more coming up at Volquest.com. News and notes throughout the week on all that stuff. All right, for Brent Hubbs, Austin Price, Grant Ramey, I'm Eric Kane. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Volquest Mailbag Podcast.